Welcome to Write with Love. I'm your host, Sarah Williams, best-selling author, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. Each week, I chat to passionate and inspiring authors about their journey in creative writing. Some are traditionally published, some do it themselves. Everyone's journey is different, and everyone has something interesting to say. We all love love and love what we do. Today's show is brought to you by our amazing fans and supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the show and get some awesome bonus episodes, go to patreon.com/Sarah Williams Author to learn more. Now here's today's show. G'day, I'm Sarah Williams. Thanks for joining me for episode 66 of Write with Love. I'm recording this on Friday, March 22nd, 2019. Suzanne Cass is on the show today and we get to chat about all things rural romance. Suzanne is in the current multi-author box set called Outback Love, so we have gotten to know each other pretty well. I made a big announcement this week regarding an audiobook deal. Here it is. G'day. Thanks for joining me for this very special live video. My name is Sarah Williams and I'm the best-selling author of Australian romantic fiction. I'm also the founder and CEO of Serenade Publishing and the host of the #1 podcast for readers, Write with Love. So tonight, my big announcement is this. After teasing my super fans, I can finally reveal that Silver Logie nominee and everyone's favourite Ryan brother from McLeod's Daughters, Miles Pollard, has agreed to narrate the audiobook version of my first novel, The Brothers of Brigadier Station. The deal all came about after I met Miles at Mulaney's Milking It for Charity earlier this month. I was a big fan of McLeod's Daughters when it was on TV, and it helped inspire me to start writing Australian rural fiction. I know most of my readers, or most of the Australian ones at least, enjoyed the show and loved Nick Ryan as much as I did. I'm honoured that Miles was so keen to work on this project, and hopefully the rest in the series. Recording is due to take place next week, and the audiobook will be available from Audible, iTunes, and a bunch of other retailers by May, just in time for the book release of the third in the Brigadier Station series called The Legacies of Brigadier Station, which you can pre-order now. Thank you to everyone for your support, and I know you're going to love having Miles in your ears. Bye for now. So on Tuesday, I'm flying over to Perth in Western Australia for the recording, and will do my best not to embarrass myself by fangirling too much. No guarantees though, I'm only human. Back to books now. The Legacies of Brigadier Station, which is in the third in my Brigadier Station series, is up for pre-order on all the platforms now. I made a big decision to move The Dairy Farmer's Daughter into Kindle Unlimited earlier this month as an experiment. So if you're in KU, you can read it for free, otherwise it costs $1.99. If you're not on Amazon or want a paperback of any of my books, just email me, sarah@serenadepublishing.com, or contact me on my website, Facebook or Instagram. Speaking of Facebook, there's a new giveaway up on the Write with Love Facebook page. A paperback copy of Lisa Bow's latest book called Playing for Time is up for grabs, but you have to get in quick. So go to Facebook and search Write with Love Podcast for all the details. Outback Heroes is the latest multi-author box set from Serenade Publishing. This time I've teamed up with fellow Aussies Suzanne Cass, Mel A. Rowe, Liliana Rose, Cheryl Wright and Philippa Neffrey Clark. And this time the digital-only box set is wide. So if you prefer to buy on Apple Books, Google Play, Kobo, Amazon, or one of the other awesome platforms, then you can log in now and buy Outback Heroes for only 99 cents. If you love Australian rural romance, then you will love these 6 full-length rural stories. My best-selling novel, The Outback Governess, is included in this set. If you would like to join me at the trendy beachside town of Noosa on October 18th to the 21st this year, I'm hosting a writer's retreat. It's strictly limited to 6 people and we will be writing, talking craft and having fun. I will also show you how to make the most out of your advertising budget and boost your sales. All the details are on my page, sarahwilliamsauthor.com. If you're an author who would like to be a sponsor or get a shout out on the show, send an email to me, sarah@serenadepublishing.com, or become a patron at patreon.com/SarahWilliamsAuthor for more information. Right, time for the interview with Suzanne Cass. So enjoy the show, and I'll see you next week. G'day and welcome to Write with Love. Today on the show I'm chatting to Suzanne Cass. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi Sarah, how are you?
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. So Suzanne is one of the other 5 authors I'm collaborating with to produce the multi-author box set. It's called Outback Heroes and is on all digital retailers now for only 99 cents, but it's only for a limited time, so you've got to buy it quick. But we are talking to Suzanne Cass, like I said, and I would love to start with you, Suzanne, telling us about yourself and your writing journey so far.
Well, it's been long. I'm one of those writers that love to write, right from the very beginning. I remember, back in kindergarten, we used to make the little books that the teacher used to staple together and used to write them all. And, I've got hundreds of those. I was also a very voracious reader. I would read everything and anything. And then I discovered Mills and Boon in my teenage years. And so I decided I wanted to write a book for Mills and Boon. So in my early 20s, I wrote this amazing book and I sent it off to Mills and Boon, and they sent me back this lovely rejection letter. It was beautiful. It was, you don't get these lovely rejection letters anymore. Oh, that was so well written, but keep going, it doesn't, you're not quite there yet. So I put the book away and, life got in the way. I got a job, got married, had kids. And then about 10 years ago, I thought that itch to write was still there. And so I got the manuscript back out of the bottom drawer and, I thought I'm going to do something with this. So I started working on it and, I was painstaking. Every sentence had to be correct and, and I started sending it out to publishers and I wasn't getting anywhere with it. And then in about 2012, I discovered Romance Writers of Australia. And that was just like, wow, that just opened my eyes to everything that was out there. And I started, really honing my craft, doing the courses, meeting all the other authors, and entering the contests as well. And I also started writing other books as well. I sort of put that first book, away and started writing other books. And then in 2016, I actually won the Emerald Award for the best unpublished manuscript. And that was like a wake-up call to me. It was like, wow, maybe I am actually, a writer. Because we all doubt ourselves, Well, I do. I definitely doubt myself. And I sort of didn't get any publishing offers from that. But the other thing that happened in late 2016 was I was made redundant from my job. Because all through then I'd been working, 4 days a week, practically full time. And I thought, I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to take a year off and see what I can do. So I then, in the middle of 2017, I published that book that won the Emerald Award, which was actually called Island Redemption, which is, it's a story about Survivor, the TV show Survivor, because I'm a bit of an addict. Yeah. And so I self-published that, and it's sort of it's grown from there. And in the next year, I self-published 3 more books, and then I sort of started on the series that we're going to be talking about, the Shadows in the Dust, the Colours of the Earth series, and that's sort of my story, I guess.
Yeah. So you haven't had to go back to a full-time job?
No, I haven't. I've been really lucky. My husband has been able to support us, and he's been really supportive of me as well. I'm not making enough money to support, I'm not making a wage at the moment, but it's starting to grow, and I'm starting to see a light on the, you know, on the horizon.
Yeah.
And I can see that, you know, in a year or two, I'll be at that stage where I can say, you know, I'm making enough money to support myself. So yeah, it's been slow but steady, and a huge learning curve. I mean, self-publishing is there's so much to learn about and so much to do, and it's just and it's constantly, you know, my list of things to do just grows every day. It never gets shorter.
No, it doesn't. And then you get another book and it's like, oh, now I have to start again.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, and you've got to sort out your covers, and you've got to, you know, do your own marketing, but I would much rather be doing this, you know, any day than working in an office, you know, being employed by someone else. So it's my dream job is being a writer. So I'm getting to do what I love to do. So it's great.
That's it. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep.
And so you do write romantic suspense, and of course we're going to talk about the Colours of the Earth series in a second. But yeah, you like setting them in Outback Australia, which I think is awesome. Obviously, that's what I write. So yay! And you live over in WA in Perth. So are you a country girl?
I'm not. I was actually born in Canberra. But the reason, you know, I spent a lot of time in the bush. We used to, as a family, we used to go, you know, every school holidays, we'd go out in the bush, we'd go camping and hiking. And, of course, I loved horses. And so I spent a bit of time on a working farm, like a farm stay. And I actually was then employed on that farm stay when I finished school as a Jillaroo for a couple of years. It's up in the Snowy Mountains. And so that's sort of where the first story, those Shadows in the Dust, that's where I got the inspiration from that. And then when I moved to Perth, you know, I've travelled through the outback, and it's such an amazing place. Australia is such an amazing place. It's so beautiful. So I just love to write about it. And a lot of the, you know, some of the reviews I get on the books, the people say, you know, just bring the outback to life, because it's just, you know, it's an amazing place. So
yeah. Absolutely. So I've read Shadows in the Dust, which is the book that's included in Outback Heroes. So I was so excited when I got to read this one. It had been on my TBR list for quite some time. And you set this one in WA, and I loved the descriptions of the landscape. I've been to WA. I haven't really been like to the Pilbara or anything like that though. So it really does. It brings it to life, and there was like all these little bits and things that I was like, oh, that's so cool. So it was a nice change, actually. I finally got out of Queensland, which is where I set all of mine.
Which is lovely and lush and green, and
at times. So yeah, Colours of the Earth. So tell us about Shadows in the Dust first, and then we'll talk about the rest of the series.
Okay, so Shadows in the Dust was the very first book that I wrote. And it's sort of the book of my heart. You know, you've always got that one book that starts it all, and it has to be written, you know, you sort of, and it's sort of changed a lot from that very first one 20 years ago, from that very first draft. And, you know, joining RWA and meeting lots of other authors has helped me shape it into what it is. So the story of Shadows in the Dust is about a girl, Jenna, and she arrives in a small country town in the middle of the outback, and she hops off the bus, and she gets a job as a Jillaroo on a isolated cattle station out in the middle of the outback. And of course, being romantic suspense, she's got a little secret. You know, she's actually running from a killer, and she's been sort of on the run for the last couple of years, and she's sort of been moving from place to place just to try and stay, you know, away from him, ahead of him. And so she gets a job, and of course she gets to know the people on the station, and she learns, you know, how to sort of muster the cattle and all that. And of course, being romantic suspense, there's a gorgeous jackaroo there, you know, called Dan, who she starts to fall in love with. And the story sort of evolves. You know, she sort of starts to really want to stay on the farm, but, you know, she's always wanted to be able to settle down, but she can't trust anyone, and she doesn't want to fall in love, because if she falls in love, then that person will become the object of, a target for this guy that's sort of hunting her. And we find out that she saw her stepfather being murdered, which is why the killer is hunting her, because she's a witness to the murder. And the story, it's kind of complicated, but it unravels that the guy that hunting her is actually working for her biological father, who she never knew. And he's a bit of a nutcase. He's a bit of a psychopath, and he wants his biological daughter back under his wing. So the story unfolds, and the killer turns up in the desert, and there's a bit of a confrontation, and I'm not going to.
Yeah, no, and I don't get to write villains very often. Mine are always so, sweet kind of stories. I loved the way you got into your villain. There's one particular baddie in there, and I'm just like, oh, he's evil. Love it.
I don't know how I do that. I don't know any bad people.
It just comes naturally.
That's the beauty of being a writer, is that you get to live outside your own little box, and you get to create these characters that you like to read about, I guess. And that's the main thing, is that's sort of what I like to read about. Is I love a love story, but I like to have a little bit of a spice, a little bit of something else going on in the background, that pushes the characters together a little bit more and makes it a bit more, gives them a few more obstacles to have to deal with, that kind of thing. So that's why I think I write romantic suspense. Yeah,
absolutely. So once people finish reading Shadows in the Dust and they're desperate for the next installment, what's that one called?
So the next one is called Shadows in Deep Blue. Cool. And it's actually it's set in Margaret River about a year later after the first book, and it follows Jenna's mother's story. So Jenna was abandoned by her mother, and she sort of never really knew why, until this killer turns up and everything starts unraveling. And she finds out that her mother abandoned her to save her, because this crazy biological father was after her. So she was hoping to sort of, save her by hiding her, I guess. And so we sort of get all that backstory through Jenna's mother's story. Her name is Ebony, and she is she's also a bit of a nomad. She sort of moves around as well, even though it's been 20 years since she ran away from the biological father, and she's assuming that he's still not after her. And she moves to Margaret River, which is a beautiful coastal town in Western Australia. It's just amazing, beautiful beaches, white pristine sand, and and she meets she nearly drowns. The opening of the story is she goes out for a swim, and she's sort of thinking about how she abandoned Jenna as a baby, and she nearly drowns. And of course, Jay, the hunky, ex-army corporal, he's out surfing, and he pulls her to safety. And they sort of, they start to, get attracted, and then Ebony thinks she sees her ex-husband in the street in the town, and she sort of, well, no, he can't still be following me after 20 years. But of course, he is, and problems start to arrive, and, all this kind of thing. And again, I won't tell you the ending, but it's not set in the outback, but I think it still showcases amazing natural Australian beauty. So
oh, you've totally got me wanting to go to Margaret River now.
It is beautiful.
Too many places that I want to go. It's too hard.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! And then there's a third. Is the third one the final in the series?
Yes, the third one's the final in the series. It's called Shadows of Red Earth, and that's due for release in about a month. Yeah. And so that is actually set 20 years in the future, and it's Jenna's daughter's story. So, they go back to the cattle station in the outback, and she and Dan have a daughter. I think I'm giving away the story here, am I? but she's very overprotective of her daughter because of what she's been through, and and she's still not 100% sure that there isn't someone out there wanting to do her harm. And so her daughter Rose rebels, finally rebels and says, I need to get out of here. So she hitchhikes. She catches up with this guy on a motorbike and hitchhikes, says, take me, where are you going? And he says, I'm going to Darwin. She said, oh, just take me to Darwin. And anyway, and so the guy that's on the motorbike, Cohen, he's sort of in a little bit of trouble as well. He's riding a stolen motorbike. He's stolen the motorbike. And he's sort of running away from a family crisis. And so he says, yes, I'll take you to Darwin. And they sort of end up in Darwin. And so Rose's mum, Jenna, has been, sort of telling her these stories about what happened to her in her younger days, and how there might still be someone out there that wants to do them harm. And Rose has been, no, that's, it's all in the past. You're dreaming, Mum. Anyway, of course, what happens when she gets to Darwin? Yes, so this guy turns up at her hotel and says, hi, Rose, you don't know me, but yes. So, and he tries to abduct her, and so it turns out he's actually her half brother.
Oh, wow.
So, and he wants revenge, not on her, but on Jenna and Ebony, because of what they did in Margaret River, which I won't tell you because it gives away the ending.
Ooh.
It's a little bit convoluted, but it makes sense when you read the three books. So, and so that third book is sort of set more in the top end, almost. So some of it's in Darwin, in Kakadu. I've never been to Kakadu, but it's one of my bucket list places. Those beautiful waterways and the floodplains, and and the big open woodlands. I'd love to go there. So that's where it's set. And a little bit of it's set back in the outback as well.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome. Oh, so we all have to. Well, first we have to buy Outback Heroes so we can read the first one.
Yes.
Then go and read the others. So the third one will be out. You said in a month, so we're March at the moment, so it'll be out in April 2019. Excellent.
Yes, middle of April. So it's on pre-order at the moment. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Now, are all your books available Amazon, Kobo, and
wide? Wide. Yep. Yeah. So everywhere. Excellent. Yeah. So I'm even on Google Play. All those.
Yep. Wherever you can get digital.
Exactly.
And you've also written some standalones and novellas as well. So are they kind of similar stories or completely different?
So I've got three standalones as well. I've got Island Redemption, which is the one that won the Emerald.
Yeah.
And then I wrote another one called Chasing Bullets, which is set in Byron Bay. And my parents live near Byron Bay, which is, I visited Byron Bay and I thought I have to write a book set here. Yeah. And it's an undercover cop, and an ex-undercover cop, and they have a lot of history together, and they meet up in Byron Bay because he's on a mission. They're tracking down a terrorist cell that's planning something big on one of the Australian cities, probably Sydney, and of course she gets sucked into helping him out, and so that and then the other one is called Glass Clouds, and I'm getting a bit of a pattern here, I think. I wrote that one because I went to France for a family holiday, and we stayed in Provence in this gorgeous little township. It was just gorgeous, and we rented a villa, and I was sitting in the little walled villa in the backyard, with the olive trees and the lavender, and I thought, I have to write a book set here as well. So that book is about an Australian cop who goes to Provence to recover from a car accident that she's had, and she's just sitting eating her lovely homemade meal, because I actually love the French cooking, and so there's quite a lot of French recipes and stuff threaded through this book as well. And so a man appears over her wall, because they have these really high stone walls in a lot of the walled gardens. And she's like, and he's sort of wounded. She can see he's wounded, and he's sort of like, please be quiet, there's someone. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Anyway, she stays quiet, and he disappears over the wall, and she thinks, well, that's the last time I'm going to see him. But of course it's not. And so the guy is actually another undercover cop. So I think I've got a thing going with undercover cops as well. And he is also working for an anti-terrorist cell. And the people that were chasing him then see that he's gone into her garden, and they start targeting her. So he has to sort of rescue her, take her on the run with him, and then they go to his family own a lavender farm up in the hills of Provence, and they spend a bit of time up on the lavender farm up there as well. So I think, as you can see, setting plays quite a large, it's almost like another character in most of my books.
Yeah.
So,
No, I love it. That's just brilliant. Yeah. I love how when we travel, we fall in love with these destinations that we decide have to share with everyone else who reads our books.
Isn't that funny? I never really thought about it, but I like to set books where, places that call to me, I guess.
I do the same thing. We're in Mullaney in Queensland, and so I've set books here, and then I've been to Julie Creek in the Outback, and so I've set books there.
Exactly.
I'm going to New York and Scotland later in this year, and it's like I'll probably come back and set some books there.
Exactly. Or at least have a Scottish person with it.
Oh, I'd love a Scottish person, definitely.
Husband's Scottish, so yes.
There you go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting to me today. And where can we find you online and keep up with all of these releases?
So you can find me at my website. It's suzannecass.com. And of course I'm on more Facebook and all those, but go to my website and you can find me from there, and all my books and everything are there. Yeah,
excellent. And just another little hit for Outback Heroes, 99 cents, Kobo, Amazon, Google Play, Apple Books, everything else. I can't think of any of the other ones right now. And it'll only be for sale for about another 2.5 months. So you definitely want to get that one quickly, because it's six books for 99 cents.
Exactly, it's a great bargain.
It is such a good book too. I'm really happy with this one.
Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Jump onto my website, sarahwilliamsauthor.com, and join my mailing list to receive a free preview of my books and lots of other inspiration. If you like the show and want it to continue, you can become a sponsor for just a couple of dollars a month. Go to patreon.com/Sarah Williams Author. And remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a review of the podcast. I'll be back next week with another loved up episode. Bye!